You've been told to stop overthinking, to just let it go, to relax, move on, and stop making everything so complicated. And maybe you've tried. Maybe you've told yourself the same thing 100 times, lying awake at night, watching your mind refuse to quiet down no matter how much you beg it to. But what if the problem was never your overthinking? What if the problem was the story you were told about it? Because here's what psychology is beginning to understand, and what most people will never hear. Overthinking isn't a personality defect. It isn't anxiety with no purpose. It is, in many cases, a visible sign of a mind that is wired differently, wired deeper. And today, we're going to look at exactly what that means through 5 hidden traits that almost every overthinker carries quietly inside them. If your mind has never really known how to be still, this is for you. Trait number 1. You have an exceptionally deep capacity for empathy. Overthinkers don't replay conversations because they're insecure. They replay them because they care, profoundly, almost painfully, about the effect they have on other people. Psychology shows that individuals who engage in high levels of reflective thinking consistently score higher on empathy assessments than those who process experiences more quickly and move on. Think about what actually happens when you replay something. You're not just thinking about what was said. You're imagining how the other person felt. You're wondering if your tone landed wrong, if your words were misunderstood, if someone went home carrying something you didn't mean to leave with them. That is not rumination without purpose. That is moral attunement. That is the brain of someone who genuinely measures their actions against the well-being of others. In a world that often rewards speed over sensitivity, your slower, deeper processing is not a weakness to fix. It is a form of emotional intelligence most people never develop. Trait number 2. Your brain is built for deep and complex thinking. Research in cognitive psychology identifies a quality called the need for cognition, a natural, internal drive to engage with complex ideas, to seek understanding beyond the surface, to ask questions that most people never think to ask. Studies consistently show that people with a high need for cognition are more likely to engage in extended thinking, careful analysis, and nuanced judgment. In practical terms, this means you are not comfortable with simple answers when a situation is actually complicated. Where others make a decision and move forward, you are still at the table, turning the problem over, checking the angles, asking what everyone else might have missed. That is not indecision. That is rigor. The same quality that exhausts you in everyday decisions is the one that makes you irreplaceable when the stakes are actually high. Analysts, researchers, writers, doctors, and strategists, the people the world depends on to get things right, tend to share exactly this kind of mind. Trait number 3. You have a deeply rooted moral compass. This one surprises people, but research consistently links overthinking and rumination to elevated moral sensitivity and ethical awareness. Overthinkers don't just evaluate outcomes, they evaluate the rightness of their choices. They hold themselves accountable in ways that others rarely do. You know that voice that replays what you said at dinner 3 days ago and asks whether it was fair? That isn't neurosis. That is an internal ethical tribunal, running continuously, holding you to a standard you set for yourself. You don't let yourself off easy. You don't justify harm or dismiss accountability. You stay with things until you understand them, including your own behavior. That kind of moral seriousness is rare, and in the people who carry it, the world tends to find some of its most trustworthy, conscientious, and genuinely decent human beings. Trait number 4. You are naturally and profoundly creative. Neuroscience has given us a remarkable insight in recent years, the default mode network. This is the part of the brain that activates during rest, during daydreaming, during the quiet moments when you're not focused on a task. It is also the network most consistently associated with imagination, creative connection, and the ability to generate original ideas. Research shows that in people who tend toward deep reflection and overthinking, the default mode network is unusually active, running longer, connecting more widely, producing more associations between seemingly unrelated ideas. In other words, your overthinking mind and your creative mind are not separate things. They are the same thing, running at the same time. This is why so many artists, writers, musicians, and innovators describe their inner world as relentless. Always generating, always imagining, always finding meaning in the spaces between ordinary moments. Your mind was not designed for stillness. It was designed for creation. And every night it keeps you awake, it is also the same night it could be building something worth keeping. Trait number 5. You are genuinely and profoundly self-aware. Of all 5 traits, this may be the most important. Research in personality psychology shows that individuals who regularly reflect on their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors develop significantly higher levels of self-awareness over time. And self-awareness is not a soft, abstract quality. It is the single strongest predictor of emotional intelligence, relationship quality, and long-term personal growth. You are someone who watches yourself, who asks hard questions about your own motives, who notices inconsistencies between who you want to be and how you're actually showing up. Most people move through their lives without ever doing this. Not once, not deeply. You do it constantly. That relentless internal honesty is the foundation of genuine wisdom. It is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also how a person actually grows. So here is what I want to leave you with. Your overthinking mind is not a problem to be managed. It is a portrait of who you are, someone who feels with unusual depth, thinks with unusual care, and holds themselves to a standard that most people never even consider. The world has told you for a long time that you are too much. The truth is, you have always been exactly right. If this gave you a new way to see yourself, please subscribe. Every week, we come back to the psychology of who you are, not to diagnose you, not to fix you, but to help you finally understand yourself. Because understanding your mind is not the beginning of overthinking. It is the beginning of freedom.